Hello and good afternoon, good evening, and in some places around the world, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming, and we're going to be spending the next 90 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, covering everything that has transpired at Xbox's GDC 2026. Lots of information, and we have a panel member that might just be getting a little bit dirty today. We'll get to him in a second because obviously he has a lot to say. But Hargeet Chani, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Yeah, busy, but yeah, we had some interesting stuff to go over from GDC, and why not? Let's get over it.
Yeah, we actually have a presser from Jason Ronald, and we have a bunch of information from Idle Sloth, from Tom Warren, from Shinobi 602. There has been a lot of coverage, and there is a lot of information about what this Xbox is. And you know what? We're going to give you all of that information in a bag of chips, ladies and gentlemen. But on the back end of today's show, before we send everybody home, we're going to be asking the question, who is this console for? Because that's the newest one, ladies and gentlemen, even though it has been said that it is a console, even though it has been said that it's going to play all of your Xbox games from 4 generations and PC games, the question now is being posed by a certain group of who is this console for? Well, I can tell you right off the bat, it is definitely for me, and I'm sure everyone in this chat is going to agree, but we'll get into that momentarily. But Keasante, I kind of remember an article that you might have written for at the time called Xbox Era in 2024 about the topic that we're going to cover today. And guess what, pal? You were right.
I won't say I'm 100% there. I'm still waiting for them to start announcing the whole partner program where others start getting access to it as well. But I'd say of the 5 prognostications, I think I'm a 4 out of 5. So we're getting there. You know what I mean?
It's a high percentile, sir.
It's a high percentile. That's that them's King David numbers. 98% all the percent right all the time. I'm just saying it is what it is. But no. I'm happy to be here. It is exciting news to finally be able to talk about this stuff in a real way. It's great. It's great. Let's get into it.
All right, so folks, before we start breaking down individuals' informations, like Tom Warren, I have a bunch of stuff from him. I have stuff from Shinobi 602. Idle Sloth has done an incredible job of lining up all of the tech talk, and of course, I couldn't be happier to have 2 technicians of this skill level in Hargeet Chani and Keasante on today's panel, because look, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a plug and play kind of a dude, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do with this console. But we have a lot of information that we're going to be breaking down from time to time. But I want to start off tonight's show with a presser from the best beard in the business, Jason Ronald, via xboxwire.com, and it's titled "From GDC: Building the Next Generation of Xbox." Now, Jason goes on to say in this write-up, "This is a summary of my Xbox Developer Summit keynote address delivered on March 11th at the 2026 Game Developer Conference. And here's the summary, folks. Our team is deep in development on our next generation Xbox console called Project Helix. We are pushing the boundaries of rendering and simulation in partnership with AMD using FSR Next to power, well, what comes next. Starting in April, Xbox Mode will begin rolling out to Windows in select markets. It brings a familiar Xbox experience to players while keeping the flexibility and openness of Windows. And for developers, the Xbox Play Anywhere catalog now spans more than 1,500 games, creating a powerful opportunity to reach players seamlessly across console and Windows. So I'm just going to pick apart some of the paragraphs here because it's a pretty lengthy presser, and we don't really have the time on a podcast to read it all. What I am going to do is add it to the show notes. If you want to give it a click and a read yourself, you can go ahead and do that. But Jason goes on to say this, gentlemen in chat. We're continuing to push innovation for our next 25 years with our team hard at work on our next generation first-party console, Project Helix. Now, this console is designed to play your Xbox console and PC games, delivering leading performance and ushering in the next generation of console gaming. Now, I just want to stop there for a second, folks, and I really have to applaud Jason Ronald quietly and promptly dismissing all of the naysays of this is not a console. This is not an Xbox console. I mean, almost in every paragraph you heard someone speak today, the word console was used. And I think it was done on purpose, as it should be, because again, the last couple of weeks, it's been, well, it was a console, but it's more PC and this, that, and the third. And you folks, I don't have to name the names to know exactly where the rhetoric is coming from, but it's a console, folks. It's a first-party Microsoft built in collaboration with AMD console. And I'm glad that it's been mentioned so many times in this presser. Well, Jason goes on to say, in our multi-year partnership with AMD, we're shaping the future of rendering and simulation. Project Helix is powered by a custom AMD SoC and co-designed for the next generation of DirectX and FSR to unlock what comes next. It delivers an order of magnitude leap in ray tracing performance and capability, integrates intelligence directly into the graphics and compute pipeline, and drives meaningful gains in efficiency, scale, and visual ambition. The result is more realistic, immersive, and dynamic world for players. I'm excited to share we plan to ship alpha versions of the hardware to developers beginning in 2027. And that is where we're going to start, Hargeet Chani. Look, there's a lot of information here. And we're going to continue to read some of that information as the show goes on. Because again, like I said, to open up today's program, I have a lot of information from a lot of incredible posters on X. And you know what? Before I even move any steps further, I do want to, say a big thank you to the Idle Sloths and the Shinobi 602s and the Paris Lilies, of course, Jason Ronald, and so many others who have taken the time to share. Tom Warren has been on an absolute freaking tear, and as he should. He's a good journalist, ladies and gentlemen, and he's been doing, well, what he knows how to do really well, and that is provide everyone with up-to-date information. And again, shout out to everyone that, because I'm not there, folks. I would have loved to be there, but I wasn't. So now I have to live vicariously through all of these posters, and there's been so much information that I literally felt as if I was there. But you know what, Hargeet Chani? Let's start off with the fact that the traditional dev kits for the next Xbox, Project Helix, will be sent out starting early in 2027. Now, what that kind of lines up for me is that, well, if they're going to send out the dev kits in early 2027, now that could be, January, that could be February or March, I don't know, but that lines up with the fact that we could get a holiday release next year. I want to get your thoughts on the confirmation and some of the things that Jason Ronald had to say about Project Helix.
Yeah, I mean, first, this whole stupidity of console versus not console. How many PCs have a dev kit?
I don't know if any.
Is that even a thing?
No, I'd say no.
If you have a dev kit, that means you have a standard piece of hardware that is a console that you're going to target a performance target for, right? That's the intent of the dev kit. So I guess it's a console. Is that enough of a definition for the console? I mean, we have this whole bullshit about, like, pardon my French,
that's quite right.
About what is a console, okay? And a console is simply a device intended to play games that uses a controller interface. That's a console. That's what a console is defined as. And so we got enough confirmation now it's a console. That's it. Like, how many things do you need to make it? So since I happen to know how the innards work of Xbox, don't ask me why. It already is Windows. It's literally Windows. I know it's Windows. So it's Windows. They're basically just changing things up a little bit. That's it. It's still the same bloody thing. So it is a console. The question is, I don't know the answer to this. Is it still kind of, you know, console OS and then surfacing a bit more capability for the Windows side, or is it really just a hybrid that's just there where you have like a console UI like you do with the ROG, and you could flip it to the Windows mode and you can go back to Windows? I don't know if that's going to happen. So we'll see what they do with it. I still think they're going to be very limited in what you're going to do with the Windows side because it's a console and they don't want you to muck with it. But we'll find out, right? We'll see what they do. There's a lot of cool things that happen if you do allow that, because you can then go and play with all the different mod engines out there, which is rather convenient for users, right? For players. So, but either way, we'll see where that is. What we did get confirmation of is the unification of the design engine, right? For making the games. Right. And it's stuff we've been hearing about, right? This isn't totally new. We've been hearing that they're kind of doing that. So they're unifying the design, and they've basically officially said, hey, by the way, when you make it for Windows, it's going to be made for Xbox. It's going to be made for Windows. Same game, right? That makes things a lot easier for development. They're also talking about the back end, which I don't know if you saw all that stuff or not, but the PlayFab capability is going to have cross functionality between everybody, right? So that's Steam, PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox, Windows, all of it, right? So you can have the same sort of back-end capability, cross-save, all that stuff like built into your games, right? So if people want to leverage their architecture, they can just do that, and therefore they have access to be able to say, I can sell you a game that has cross-save with Steam and PlayStation and and Xbox and Windows. So it just gives you one platform that gives you like the convenience of the play anywhere capability. Now, entitlement, that's a different story, but we'll leave that aside. A lot of the things they're talking about just sort of align with all the things we've been talking about, right? This is kind of where they're going. They're going to surface the ability to have you be able to use other Windows stores. That's great, right? But they didn't really get into a lot of that. They just kind of got into here's where we are today, right? Where we have a sort of disjoint, a development process for our console versus Windows, even though the same development kit, but it's not really the same as far as the build process. You really do have to kind of make them for both. We're unifying that, and it's going to make it much easier for you as a development community. You don't have to worry as much about targeting one or the other, which then again makes me think you're targeting one or the other. Oh, so you still have an Xbox and you still have a PC. There's still, if you saw that slide, it still had two boxes, Xbox and PC. I'm like, So it sounds like it's still kind of got an Xbox console-y thing going on. So again, I'm just gleaning things. We don't have actual answers for any of these things yet, and that's kind of what I expected. We would get some hints, but we would kind of get more of the developer, information. That's really what this is for. This is a development conference, the developers conference, right? So don't expect to have more consumer information. This is really for the development community, right? Yeah. To start getting an idea of how do you approach this new thing they're doing? What is this going to mean? There's going to be more sessions, I think, tomorrow about DirectX, which is the gaming engine for Windows, right? So, and by the way, Xbox, right? DirectX it's the shared libraries of how you make games between the two. But anyway, so they're going to do much more, in-depth and divulging of what they've got going on. I'm guessing for DX13, right? I think we're on 12 right now, so we're going to see more about what's coming with DirectX 13. It's all Windows 11 right now. They haven't really told us much about 12, if that's even coming this year. Maybe it's coming next year, the year after. Who knows when that's coming? But they are saying things like we're taking some of the learnings of Xbox and bringing that to Windows. For Windows gamers, this is fantastic news, right? Because you still see on a given device, if you run Windows versus Linux, and Linux even emulating with Prototype still runs faster on the same hardware, and that's because it still has a lot of bloat. And if they can really take what they do with the Xbox, which is they've cut the bloat down dramatically down to exactly what you need, right? That's a good thing, right? If they can make that happen and say, no, we'll give you that. Windows 11 will give you that, a core level of OS need that you have to run the games. we'll do that, and then give you all the other layers as needed. That way you don't have to have all this crap running that's going to slow you down. Great, that's awesome. If they're going to really pull that off, that's great. So just generally for Windows gamers, forget the fact that it's Xbox or console. Just Windows gamers, 1 billion or so players out there are going to get a direct benefit by just upgrading their OS, and they potentially have the ability to get more performance. That's a good thing, right? Xbox mode, they're calling it now, the full screen experience that we've got on the ROG, and now has been in preview for anybody who wants it on Windows 11, is going to go full GA, supposedly, at least full GA in April. So we will see that available. I don't know what other bells and whistles we'll get with that. Maybe it'll have some other benefits as we move along. Another major thing I saw was backwards compatibility. Just double down, triple down, quadruple down. Backwards compatibility is there. It's going to give you the exact library you have. Backwards compatibility is there. So the idea that somehow this is not going to give you your console games, that's bullshit. It's happening. You're getting your console games.
All of your games, PS, by the way.
And there's some new things coming to backwards compatibility.
So check this out. Let me read what Jason Ronald had to say, and I'm gonna throw the microphone right back at you. So again, shout out to Tom Warren for this quote. Tom's been doing such a bang-up job of just dropping news bomb after news bomb. This is what he had to say. Now, again, this is a quote from Jason Ronald. As part of our 25th anniversary later this year, the game preservation team will release some iconic games from the past that are now going to be able to be played in entirely new ways, says Jason Ronald.
Yeah, so... And I think I saw a slide where it was like, the new things that they've added with backwards compatibility, like upresing, auto HDR, things like that. And new feature. Question. They haven't told us yet. It's
right.
There's a new feature coming.
There's a new feature, but awesome. They don't specifically say what it is.
Which they'll divulge at some point, right? So we will find out. And the other thing is we're getting these, messages of, hey, we're going to find out more this year about what their plans are, right? So it's going to not just be something we have to wait for next year. Like they have the dev kit coming up in the early part of next year. We aren't going to wait that long to actually hear about what this thing's going to be, because they're telling us they're going to talk about this year. So that's also very cool. Hopefully we'll get to see a lot of more information about, is it the hardware they're talking about? Is it the potential for Windows mode and what that's going to do, how the console is going to show up, etc. Right? So we'll see. There's going to be some more potential here. I don't know that we get pricing until next year, because right now the whole industry is in this whole price bubble with the AI stuff anyway. So it's probably not even something to approach until you get very close to the release. Right? But I think we'll get more information like we did last time with the Series X being announced. Not announced, they announced it earlier, but getting the actual console and console name and all that stuff, we got that at Keeley's, right, at the Game Awards, right? We might have something like that where we get a bit more information sometime during the year, and then later in the year we get something, maybe at the 25th anniversary they make that one of the key announcements that they have at the 25th anniversary celebration of some sort, right? So all sorts of potentials here. But yeah, it sounded good. I mean, it sounded like, it's a step. We're getting kind of where we need to get. You're certainly, they're making sure you're getting your back compat library. It's going to be there, no issues. And they're adding even more, which is just fantastic. And they're adding that to the current consoles. So what we don't know is how much of these, new capabilities, how much of that might apply to the current consoles. So Series S and X, will that also get some upgrades and capabilities? We'll see. We'll see what they say about that, right? So, but more to come. But yeah, it's a good first step. A lot more details need to come out. That's fair. But we are where we are, and that's good, right? So you're going to get your backwards compatibility. That was the big question, right? That's out of it. And I don't know if that comes to other things, by the way. It might be locked to Magnus. So if people are thinking that, hey, this might work for a general Windows device, I wouldn't take that to the bank. I wouldn't say that even the ROG Ally and Ally X would have it either. We will see, right? Because there might be some special hardware that needs to be there. So just keep that in mind. I don't know that that's going to work. So we'll see. They also mentioned peripherals. I'm waiting for my peripherals. I want that Elite Series 3.
Maybe June. Maybe when we're and
yeah,
the three of us are going to be in LA. I think that would be a good spot for it to land. Yeah.
So I hope they show some more stuff like that. I'm looking forward to that. We heard enough that there's potentially a new controller being potentially put out even this year, an Elite Series 3 this year. That'd be awesome. But maybe that one comes next year. It's fair, fine. But I'd love to see what's going on there. But yeah, there's a lot of little nuggets. That's really what this is, right? It's not about like the actual announcements for consumers. This is all about developers. So in that vein, it's doing good stuff, right? But yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts.
Well, you know what, Kay? Before I bring you in, I have one of the slides in front of me. And this was posted by Paris Lily. This was posted by Idle Sloth. A multitude of people posted this particular slide, and it goes into some real specific details. And of course, being that you and Hargeet are very technical when it comes to this, I think you're going to appreciate it. So on the slide, it has Project Helix Innovation. Plays your Xbox console and PC games. Powered by a custom AMD SoC, and it has a couple of bullet points. Co-designed for next generation of DirectX, next generation ray tracing performance and capabilities, GPU directed work graph incursion, AMD FSR Next plus Project Helix. And a couple of bullet points here says built for next generation of neural rendering, next generation of machine learning upscaling, new machine learning multi-frame generation, next gen ray tracing for RT and path tracing, and lastly, deep texture compression. And it has 2 bullet points here: neural texture compression and direct storage plus ZSTD. This probably makes a whole hell of a lot of sense to you. Maybe for myself as well as the chat, you can kind of explain exactly what a beast of a machine this is going to be.
Sure.
And they also announced the AMD, right? Announced FSR Diamond, right? Yeah.
Yes, they absolutely did. Yeah. Yes.
So quickly, because I know a lot of people will ask about the neural processing. The simplest way to describe it is the traditional way to basically render visuals has been a geometry way. You put triangles everywhere, and that defines it. This is the neural way, is the quote unquote learning way, where you set the stage and it learns the terrain and builds based off of what it's learning using ML and AI and all of that. So it has the potential of being more natural looking because it's learning as it goes, rather than expecting you to put the triangles everywhere so that it adapts. But okay, let's get back to the top here. So this news, I won't get too slanderous. Yes, I wrote about this a long time ago. Why did I write about it? Not because I knew what I was talking about, but because this is the natural progression of things. You can't go anywhere else but the natural progression of things. Why? Because where they set themselves up starting in the 360 gen, this is how you go there, right? This is the natural evolution, because they used enterprise level tools that allows you to build crazy VMs that inside of them are consoles. So you can pick them up and move them wherever you really want, right? All of the stuff they're describing today is basically giving you a really good amount of overhead so that you can run all those other consoles on the Helix chip, right? So ultimately, when it gets to the retail, right, when it gets to the consumer, you're going to have a mode that plays the regular PC games, and they're going to obfuscate that somehow. And then there's console mode. You press that, it will look and play exactly like your console that you know, because it is the console that you know inside that virtual bubble. It's always been there. They just didn't let you see the virtual bubble because it always came with hardware, right? Now, about the dev kits conversation, yes, there will be dev kits. But I don't think there will always be dev kits, because the way they're moving now, yes, there'll be dev kits for Helix itself, potentially on how they develop, but everything they've shown now speaks to the idea that they'll let developers continue to develop in a console way if they want to, right? They are the ones lining everything up to make it seamless. It's not the dev the timing to do anything. If you are developing an Xbox game yesterday, you can still develop that Xbox game and it'll still go through the standard Xbox dev pipeline. It's just that when it comes out, the way their ecosystem is being modified, all of it will go to the same place, will allow for the same certification process, will allow for the same outcome. So it makes turning a PC game to an Xbox game and vice versa super turnkey and easy, right? This is the focus that they're doing. And of course, this is how they would be speaking because they're talking to developers, like you guys have said. Right now, the conversation isn't about you. Can I ask a simple
question? Yes. I don't want to sound like a technical boo, but you just made mention of it being as easy as turnkey. Is the reason for that making it no excuse why you can't make a game for Xbox and PC at the same time, meaning that there'll be less games skipping the box?
Well, so I think that is the outcome. I don't think that was the reason.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right? That is the outcome. I don't think that was the reason. And why am I saying this? It's because like they started making these decisions. Like if you follow along their trend line, they started making these decisions so many years ago before any of this really like hit the zeitgeist and mattered. But because they'd made those smart decisions, it made it very easy to follow along the highway to see where they were going, right? So like people hate the things like OneDrive. I know some people like dislike OneDrive and how that works.
Oh, I love OneDrive. It works
I do too.
Seamlessly for me,
yes,
dude.
Some people don't understand it. Like OneDrive was the basis for a lot of this because as soon as they were able to establish a cloud save system, now everyone can use it, which then allowed for virtualization because you can just continue to save your saves there and follow it wherever you go. And OneDrive keeps you synchronized. And it led to other things. And of course, once you've built a virtual environment, now you can play with that virtual hardware. Give it 16 gigs, for example, when it only originally had 32, when it originally had 8, and then it will respond because of it, right? You can't do that with real hardware, but you can do that with virtual hardware, and it will respond. So you don't have to play with code. That's where you get your FPS boosts. That's what you get your hover method, all of that stuff. They're playing with virtual hardware. So when you start walking down that path, eventually it makes you in the future when the hardware is far more capable, you have a lot more options. So to all of that, right? I will pull out a Everbornism right now. I apologize. They are Microsoft, not micro hard. They're not trying to keep hardware separate, right? So it's in their best interest because people forget this. But the basis of Windows development goes through Microsoft. They are the ultimate gatekeeper. DirectX controls everything, and they make DirectX. Havoc systems control everything. They own Havoc, right? So it is in their best interest to align their pipelines. So when you're developing one, you're developing for both very seamlessly. So you got a box, it runs on it. You got a PC, it runs on it. They didn't think that way at first, but now it's because it makes their job easier from a development perspective, the developer's job easier from that perspective, and it makes you happier as a consumer because that means there's no excuse as to why your platform was left out. If you're developing for PC, you're developing for Xbox. It is the ultimate solution, right? So I really think that what they're doing here is super exciting. To Hargeet's question about how they'll represent that UI UX, that is still to be seen. But I wouldn't say I'm calling it a pushback, but there's one part of it that I am not so sure about. Okay. So the way they're speaking and you were talking about some of the dribs and drabs that have come out while they were talking about it. The game preservation as part of the 25-year anniversary later this year, the game preservation team will release iconic games from the past that's going to be playable in new ways, says Jason Ronald, right?
Yes.
And then the slide shows the likes of Fusion Frenzy. The slide shows the likes of Panzer Dragoon.
Yes.
It shows Halo 5. It shows games that you can't by default play. And it also shows Xbox One games as well, right? Here's the thing. And this is my pushback to Hargeet. He says, well, it might not do that with the Magnus chip. They're talking about bringing that to test on PC. No PC currently has Magnus chip. So how are you testing that if you're not testing that on my machine? You see what I'm saying?
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. They are testing it. I suspect that ultimately, and maybe when it all comes out, there may be some of that here and there. We'll see how it works. But let me say this to you right now, as a man who plays with virtual hardware all day, there is nothing in that chip that makes it unique to play back compat. They may be making it work better, right? They may be adding more features to it to make it more seamless and work smarter and not harder. But there is nothing that a normal PC that's really comparably equipped, got the you got your $5,000 whatever PC you got, you'll be able to do this too. They may limit it artificially because of reasons, but nothing technologically stops you from being able to run it as well, right? And I bet we actually see them using the insider program to even prove that, right? This is the same deja vu moment when people went, oh, unless you have an ROG Ally, you're not seeing that FSC. That didn't happen, right? We saw that on other devices even before the Ally got it. This too is going to be everywhere at some point. I don't know how they thread the needle because to Hargeet's point, it is definitely a matter of licensing. So we'll see how that works, and that may limit some things. But from a technical engineering hardware, can it run it perspective? Oh, my 4090 can crush this thing right now. Like right now, let's go. I'm excited for it. So it looks like what we have all been looking for, we may be getting soon, right? I'm loving the way they're talking about how the UI UX from the console mode will be coming to the PC. So we'll see that soon. I have a feeling that yes, in April, I have a feeling that when you look at cloud mode right now, when you're in the cloud Xbox/Play, that UI you're seeing is probably a hint of where we're going to go as far as unifying them all. Because even in the settings of that cloud UI, it says PC. It says PC mode and Xbox mode, all this. So they may be like testing seeding the ground there and then putting it everywhere else, right? But at the end of the day, I'm very excited for what's to come right now. How they thread it all, there's a lot of unanswered questions. But the thing that I don't think we don't see normal console desktop mode on, say, like an Xbox when this is all said and done, right? You may be able to at some point, but you're going to have to really say, yes, I want to see that. Please let me see that, because that will be obfuscated from you really deep for a long
that might
time.
be like a dev mode, right? Or something like that.
Yes.
You have to like pay to do
to be honest though, right? Like I'm not a normie, to be honest with you, because I do have some technical skill, but to be fair, what you're talking about, I think 90% of the people on this in this chat right now just want a console that's going to be a beast of a machine, and all of that PC-ness, keep it behind 17 doors, right? If you want to go looking for it, like if you're a Hargeet or you're a Kayasante, awesome. But if you're a Boom, no thanks. I just want to play this thing. I want it to be a beast of a machine. But gentlemen, I have some additional information in regards to.
Well, first, I wanted to talk about the potential for playing games from other consoles. One thing you do have to worry about there is an auth chip built into the Xbox, right?
Yes.
Which creates root of trust for everything.
Yes.
Which won't be there on your general PC. Now, could they get around it? Sure, they could. I don't know that they will, though. I think they're going to say no, because look, publishers of games want to say that, yes, it's locked. Yeah. And whether that's good, bad, or indifferent doesn't matter. It's just a reality of they want to continue the relationships. And so I think they're still going to lock it. That's just my theory.
So
it could be different.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm sure they will lock it. I'm not saying they won't. But much like any FSC that showed up 5 minutes, if you actually followed the normal train, your Legion Go got the FSC mode like last week. Yeah. But let's keep it a buck. We've been having FSC on the Legion Go since day 2, son. Like day 2.
Yeah.
Right? For those who know, it is unlockable easily, but they'll keep it locked for those who don't.
Yeah. And so, and again, I don't know if they will make it available or not, right? So it's really more of it's going to check for that physical hardware. And if it's not there, the physical auth chip, right? The other thing you do have, and it's just, I know these things, but whatever, is that the hardware, the accessories that you have, If you have a certified Xbox controller, wireless headset, those also need that capability. So if they don't have it, it's not necessarily going to connect. You can connect via Bluetooth if they offer that on that device, right? But it won't do the Xbox connection that it normally has. So just keep those kind of things in mind, so that there are some specific things that will be in the Magnus platform, in the Helix console, that will not be available to general things unless they decide to make them available.
But remember,
and that's a whole other category, which I don't know if they're going to approach that or not.
I don't know if you've seen that, but just like FSE, they're using Windows Insiders as a test bed. So if you test it there, that means it runs there, and then you lock it later. But if it runs there in Windows like Insider mode, you can't then say, well,
once it's there,
again.
It's there. Yeah, exactly.
Thank
right.
you.
So yeah.
Well, listen, I have some other information that might make some sense here. Where the hell did I have it? Okay. I just had it and I lost it. Bloody H. Hold on just a second. Let me find it, because this was dropped by Idle Sloth. Yeah, here we go. So in regards to development for PC, right? This is what's interesting. So according to Idle Sloth, what was discussed at GDC 2026, and it's titled "What's Changed in Xbox Development and Why?" And here's what's new. Onboarding for development is now only 30 minutes, down from 30 days 2 years ago and months before that. Modular onboarding, start building before you're fully approved. Automated agreements, 90% plus of reduction in handling time. Open docs, open GDK. No NDA required to read, install, or start building. PlayFab free for Xbox games, matchmaking, game saves, economy analysis, all included. And it supposedly is being it uploads 13 times faster with less waiting between builds. So I think this kind of lends into what we just finished talking about, or I think what they're doing is really removing any excuse why you can't make a game for Xbox if you're building it for PC.
The only smoke I will give them now is they've come so close, so close. Damn it, stop being cowards and put id Tech in that thing, man.
Yeah, man.
It's all there. It's all there. The whole pipeline is there. You just add PlayFab, and now we start feeding that beast instead of Unreal all the time. Come on, people. Let's go.
I love how you call them cowards. That's wonderful. Stop
Seriously.
being a coward.
Even they're feeding Unreal when they should be feeding their own. Imagine if Campaign Evolved was on id Tech. Come on now.
Dude,
That's
would
what
be
we should
insane.
be focusing on.
Unless they just buy it.
Well, come on. No. I understand they can do that. I understand. I understand when we have couch cushion money, that's a possibility. But id Tech is better. It has been for so long. It's well optimized.
There's
it's
a
monster. You know?
Yep,
and it's true that not today it can't compete. But once you start feeding that beast, even with your own internal teams, eventually it'll get to that place. You already have everything else done in PlayFab. Just add id Tech. Come on. Just add it.
That would be crazy dope, because id Tech is probably the best in the business, to be quite honest with you. Well, look, again, there is a lot of technical information that has been made available by numerous content creators on X. Obviously, if you really want to read everything that Jason Ronald had to say, and there's quite a bit more in that article from Xbox Wire, written by Jason Ronald himself. I will add it to the show notes, but there is I don't know, man. I don't really like smoke. You know how that is. But this is IGN put out an article, and it's very interesting that they continue to try to drive this point home. What I walked away from today, personally, ladies and gentlemen, was very energized for the future of Xbox. There is a console coming next year that has been confirmed, but we don't have to wait until next year for new things, because obviously in April they're adding the the Xbox button to Windows 11. We have this backwards compatibility situation happening where there's something else added, but they haven't made mention of it yet. Kay, you specifically talked about some of those OG Xbox games in there, like Panzer Dragoon, which, yes, please. And what that kind of lines up is, I saw people talking about this in the chat, maybe this does open the door for games like Singularity and Prototype and several others that we've all been waiting for from the ABK deal. Maybe that's something that they were working on, and maybe we get all those games. But IGN asks, or specifically puts out this presser, and again, I find it incredibly disingenuous. And I want to get your thoughts on this before we ask the question, who is this console for? They write, Project Helix is Xbox's biggest ever challenge. In what way? This is what I'm talking about. See, everyone wants to continue to try and turn my head on whether or not there's an Xbox tax, and I call absolute bullshit on that. That headline right there is exactly why, no matter what Xbox does, no matter how powerful Helix is, no matter what first-party games they release, no matter how dope the Xbox Series 3 Elite controller is going to be, that is really what they're up against. And after all the information that was just put out, where they used the word console probably about almost a dozen times per presser just to get a point across, Hardkey, that is what they're dealing with. Project Helix is Xbox's biggest ever challenge. I don't get why it would be a big challenge. I don't understand why, being that it's going to be a traditional console, it's going to invoke everyone in this chat who's a console gamer to want to buy it, right? I saw some of the posts, and I've been saying this. They're not trying to get the PlayStation gamers to abandon their console or their digital library. If they want to come over, they're welcome, but they are targeting a PC audience that has more than 3/4 of its populace with low to mid-range hardware. And that is a proven fact, folks. So I'm not saying that of the potential 900 million plus PC gamers that encompass the entire planet are all going to come over to Xbox. But what if they get 1% of that? That number would be unbelievable. But let's try. I don't even know how to frame this question other than what IGN wrote, but I don't see the press getting off of the gas when it comes to anti-Xbox rhetoric. I want to get your thoughts on this, man, because this is just the first of many articles in the coming days that you're going to have people worried about what's happening to poor old Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like the Xbox tax is just something I've been calling out for years. It is what it is. I always expect this. Anything Xbox does, bad. If PlayStation suddenly decides, hey, you know what, we can get Steam on our console, it'll be lauded as the best thing that's ever happened to humanity. Forget everything else. This is the best. Like, it's just the way it is. I'm just done with the baloney. Every time it's always the same thing. So whatever. As far as why it's their biggest challenge, I think it's more to do with not the console. I think it's more to do with what they've been doing lately, as far as exclusivity going away.
Yeah.
This is an Xbox, that's an Xbox, everything's an Xbox. That messaging needs to be like handled. It just didn't resonate. It just didn't. And unfortunately, that caused a little bit of a marketing snafu, right? That's much more of a challenge than the console itself. Console is a console. You either want it or you don't, right? And so it's going to give you a very good platform with all the features that you've gotten used to on Xbox, with like smart delivery, quick resume, all that stuff. That should still be there. Backwards compatibility. You'll also potentially be able to play Steam games or Epic games. That's awesome, right? That's just an added bonus. If you can do even more and bring in some other nice Windowsy features, fantastic, right? But they don't care. You don't have to do any of that. right? You could just use it as a standard Xbox console. That's what it's intended to be. And you just buy your game, play your game. That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be anything more special than that. It seems to have a lot of power based on all the leaks. We don't have actual specs, but based on the leaks, it seems to be a pretty powerful machine. Right? So we'll see, right? The other thing is just the market potential of how do you market a console that is expensive, right? Like the $450 price tag on the Nintendo Switch 2 caught everybody by surprise. It catch me by surprise, but it caught everybody by surprise. And it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen with the PS6? What's going to happen with the next Xbox, right? Those are going to be more than $450, right? If the Switch 2 is $450, just, it's going to be more than that. The Steam machine, they still haven't told us a price. Why? Because they know it's not going to be something people want to hear.
That thing is
right?
going to be $1,000 out the door.
It could be 700.
There's new information about that, which changes everything. So not to divert, but since you guys mentioned it,
go for it.
Right when the Xbox was showing off all that fantasticness, Steam did release a new slide that shows you where the performance targets are when they're not targeting FSR, and that is 1080p 30, ladies and gentlemen, 1080p 30.
Yeah.
So now that hardware is probably going to be sub $600-700. Now you might be more cost effective because they're leaning very hard on FSR, and that is also like smaller kind of games that you're trying to play at 1080 30. So there's that.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And as far as that machine, right, it is lower spec than a PS5, not Pro, PS5, right? So, realistically, we'll see where it comes in, but it's they haven't told us yet because they don't want to tell us this price because the people are going to not like it. And look, and I don't expect it to be like a $1,200, $1,000. I don't even think it's going to be that much. I think it's going to be somewhere more in the $600, $700, $800 range, in that range. And this is for the low tier, right? So we'll see what they do with it. But expect these consoles to be in that price range, right? So those are the things that are a challenge. But I think that's a challenge for PlayStation as well. They have to reach that same thing, right? The assumption that somehow the PlayStation 6 is going to be substantially lower in cost is a pipe dream. I don't understand how they think that. It's literally the same box. Like, the difference in performance is the same as like the PlayStation 5 and the freaking Series X. So why would it be and they came out at the same price? Like, why would I expect it to be that different? I don't understand how people come up with these weird ideas that it's going to be substantially cheaper. It's not. I'd be surprised if it's more than $100, $150. It's going to be a very expensive proposition next gen. So we will see how that all plays out. But that article could have been written that PlayStation has a tough challenge of convincing players to abandon a PlayStation 5 that's finally getting games that even use that thing. And now you're telling me we're going to just dump it. So I don't know when they plan to come out. If they come out at the same time, you're going to run into that challenge, and that thing's going to stick around for a while. I think the PS5 is going to be around for a while.
I'd say about another 3 to 5 years easily, dude.
Oh, probably more, right? And then you have a PS5 Pro that looks pretty good, right? And so you have to ask, what is the upgrade? What are you going to get? I'm going to get path tracing. Okay. But how much do you want for that path tracing? Do people care? I mean, how many PC players are like, I'm going to buy the high end, NVIDIA card or the high end? I think you can now do path tracing on very high end, AMD cards. How many actually go for that, right? Versus getting a mid-range card and say, I'll forego path tracing and I'll be fine because I just need to play the game. It's just the way it is. I don't know that that's going to be the thing that draws people. We'll see. It'll draw people that are hardcore like me. I'll go. I don't care. I'll buy anything new, whatever. It's just new tech for me. Cool. But the average player doesn't care. They're just playing Fortnite. Is Fortnite going to look that much better, run that much better? A lot of people didn't even bother upgrading from PS4. Forget 5. So these are the things that they have to worry about, right? So I don't know where that's going to end up, but I think that's much more the question. It's just in general, how is the next gen going to entice you to come here? Oh, they'll have exclusives. I guarantee you for a long time, they're going to put every one of their games on both the 5 and the 6. If the 6 comes out, which I'm sure it will, but they're going to put their games on cross-gen for a while. It's just they're not going to take it away because there's just no reason. The games will work. It's very hard to say no when you have an install base of 100 million consoles, which they will. They'll have more than that, right? And you're going to say no? they're not going to say no. They're going to say, I want to sell it to there. And those consoles are very capable. We're literally getting a Steam machine that's lower power than a PS5, right? So getting that now. So yeah, I mean, the unfortunateness of having negative, news towards anything Xbox puts out, that's par for the course. I'm just so used to it. We'll see what they do with it. As far as like how they could, solve that, there's plenty of things they could do. We have new management. Maybe they change things. Maybe the marketing changes, right? We're supposedly going to get new people in that arena at Xbox. Maybe that changes the way people perceive it. I don't know. But I've just been I've been seeing this for at least a decade now. I think anything Xbox does is so negatively viewed. It's just like, okay, whatever. I just expect it at this point. Anything that can be written will be positioned in a way where it makes Xbox negative. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm just used to it. Whatever.
Well, look, Keasante, I want to bring you in, but I want to start with exactly what the article for this video that was posted by Matt Perslow today. Now, obviously, it was titled, Now Playing, Project Helix is Xbox's Biggest Ever Challenge. But the title of the article is even more slanderous. It says, Project Helix asks, what's an Xbox? Microsoft plans to rewrite Xbox's DNA, but when is a console not a console? This is what I am talking about. Keasante, let's try and break this down.
So for the record, the Xbox's DNA has always been Windows. That just is what it is. It's been Windows since OG Xbox. It's been Windows since Dreamcast, but we're not going to go that far. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's always had Windows in it. So rewriting their DNA, like locking it down to a closed ecosystem, was the rewrite. Lining it back to PC is the lineage. It's always been off of the PC lineage. Why do you think it's called an Xbox? Because that X is DirectX. Basically the language, the API languages that they use to build all PC games to this very day. Right? They're on DirectX 12. They're going to 13. The reason why it's called an Xbox is because of DirectX. So it's always been a PC box. Welcome, for those who don't know. Welcome to my TED Talk. Secondly, and when I hear these things, I try my best to put myself in their position and not go the complete slanderous route, because it's easy to do that, right? It's easy to do that. If there is one place where I can think of and I can go, okay, I can see what is meant here, right? Right now, everything we see from this showing is showing that Sarah Bond was absolutely correct. It is going to be a high-end bespoke machine, right? A very high-end bespoke device. And who is this box for necessarily? It is for those who see its value. And it won't be everyone that sees its value, because to the point that's already been made, there are people who are still happy as a clam right now playing their Roblox and their other live service games on PS4, on Xbox One, let alone the latest and greatest, right? So if you're not one that's considered the pixel peeper, right? Shout out to the man Pixel Bit G. I see you in there. I don't think you will necessarily be the one that gravitates towards Helix, right? From everything we're reading, they are trying to emphasize cost effectiveness, right? Because they're emphasizing a lot of the really interesting tools that they're using to offset that raw compute. But I still don't expect it to be cheap by any stretch of the console parlance, right? If you're a console gamer, you have certain expectation. This will break that expectation. It will. I think it will break that expectation, but it needs to in order for it to move the ball forward. Now, the thing that I find super interesting is both two parts that I will land here to land this plane. One is what the wizard Jason Ronald himself said recently, and one is the prognostications that I made in that 2024 article, where I said most have come true and the last one hasn't yet. That is partners. Partners will be a key to this message. They haven't spoken about it yet. I don't know how they'll speak about it, but they will need to basically answer the question of what is this for? Because Jason Ronald himself, in that keynote that leaked that you could hear him speak, he said this chip is made for both the Xbox, the first party, and a lot of different other devices, including handhelds, and that's all based on the Magnus chip, right?
Yep.
So yes, Helix is going to be that box under your TV, but that's not the only place you see Magnus. You will see it in a handheld. You'll see it in other consoles, right? So the idea here is Microsoft gets to build the big dog box, and who's it for? It's for Kay Asante. It's for Hargeet. It's for anyone hardcore enough to understand what you're getting in difference. If you hear neural processing and you go, oh man, and starts tickling the nethers, yeah, this is for you. If you hear it and go, frankly, I don't see the difference between 60 frames and 30, shout out to y'all, I know what you're talking about, then it may not be for you, right? And for you, Magnus will be available in another device that will be just as cromulent, that'll do just as good of a job, maybe not as much like oomph put to it. Maybe the cooling is not as high, so it may not hit the highest clock speeds. Maybe you'll have a little less RAM, but then you're also talking maybe sub $1,000, right? Now, this is not me putting on my hat and give you the Negro Dominus prediction. It might be, but this is literally from what they do currently in their other environments. Go look at the Surface. It is exactly how that works today. They create the benchmark. They put out something amazing, something that's cutting edge, but it's costing you a pretty penny. And then they let you decide whether you want that, or you might want the HP variant, or the Dell variant, or the Asus variant. And all of them have different things, but because the Surface exists, they can no longer give you crap and call it like Windows because Surface exists. This is literally what they're doing now. So like, I think if there's any like earnest conversation about challenges they'll have, to Hargeet's point, they definitely both will have hard challenges. We've already heard PlayStation talk about they're only going to make one AAA kind of a thing that calls the boys to the yard per year, right? They're only doing that. So it will be very difficult to get them to move from PS5 to PS6 or 4 for that matter, because all the other games are still there and they're all still playing and no one has any reason to upgrade. I would say this here is far less of a challenge, even though it's still a challenge, because they have other things that even though you can play those games everywhere else, they have other things to entice you. A la, come play our games because we'll give you this back compat mode. Come play our games because all of a sudden it can be everywhere, but it's completely seamless in this platform, included with PC, right? I see someone asking about a disk drive. I bet there is a portable, like added if you want
plug-in device.
Portable.
Yep.
Yes, because they know that to this very day there are people who plug in their old CD drive just so they can play Blood and Sand a la 50 Cent. That's the only way you're playing that on the modern time.
Yes, sir.
Because you can't get that image anymore.
Which, by the way, that game was freaking. I'm so mad that I got rid of it, dude. Like
hilarious. But this is the point, right? So will they have a challenge? I think the console market writ large has challenges ahead, right? But to say that these guys' challenge is unique to anyone else is a little bit speaking out of turn. I feel like they are the most well positioned to potentially solve that problem because they're offering so much.
Nice. Well, listen, we have one additional question, but before we get to that question, and it's going to be a big one because I don't want to address a specific person because it's been brought up by many people, but what keeps coming up is why would someone on PC buy this device? I'm going to answer that question live on the air, but before we get there, It's Me, the Broke Boy, drops a very generous $2 super chat. He says, fair warning, PlayStation fanboys out in full force today. Of course they are, because they're afraid that they're losing the narrative. They've lost the narrative years ago. Outside, and it's always
because there's PlayStation news.
No, there's no PlayStation news. There has been in quite some time. They're out because they're trying to hold back all of the good Xbox news. I guess that's a thing. I don't know, but Sith Lord drops a very generous $2 super chat. And by the way, Happy
Happy
birthday to
Sith Lord.
Sith Lord in the chat. Thank you.
Indeed,
Everyone,
indeed.
everybody wish this man a happy birthday. He's a gentleman and a scholar for sure. He says Xbox future is bright. Happy podcasting, indeed, brother. It certainly is. We have Brett Bingham. Drops a very generous $5 super chat. It says a particular muscle-bound pony is now saying that the PS6 is going to launch at the same time as Magnus, despite PlayStation saying the opposite. Complete clown show. Yeah, there's there was hopes and wishes that all of a sudden, because Xbox is going next year, that somehow Sony was going to be ready. So the rumored 2029 was just, for shits and giggles. Folks, they literally told you they have a 10-year plan for PlayStation 5 and Pro. They literally told you that in their last financials. They're not coming out with their next console until 2029, maybe even 2030. This is going to be a significant leap. And then we're not talking about Xbox 360, PS3 1-year leap. We're talking potentially 2 or even 3-year leap. That is insane. Xbox, I'm not saying they're going to somehow become market leader, but when you have a jump in power and hardware like that, it's hard to ignore, especially if you are someone that likes your games looking the best of the best of the best. Well, we'll get to that. Miracle on Ice drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, anyone know if the system will improve xCloud? I have an Xbox. I just use xCloud and I love it. Same thing with Luna and GeForce Now. I assume it will. Can you guys answer that question?
Will. It definitely will. They are right now in the middle of moving to Azure systems. That's why you see that the max is now 1440p. And once it moves this hardware, the hardware will also get the latest LAN technologies, latest Wi-Fi technologies. So all that will spell far more seamless integration with cloud gaming. So you'll be all right.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for the clarification. Sir C. Julius, salute to you, kind sir. Thanks so much for being here. And he drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I'm grabbing the Helix day one. I wonder how achievements will work. Well, would Steam game achievements convert to Xbox achievements, etc.? What do you think?
I have been waiting for them to do that for a long time.
Oh my God, that is
very
brilliant.
Possible.
Yes.
It is very possible. Right now, there's a thing, look it up on the retro side, called Retro Achievements. It synchronizes your achievements across any game you play anywhere. They're monitoring your stuff. You're getting achievements when playing NES games, getting achievements when you're playing old Sega games. That is possible. Can Microsoft do it? Absolutely they can. Will they? That's another cowardly question. When will y'all get to the horn, man?
I don't know. What I do know is today is the 11th of March, and so far I am at 51K for achievements this month. So I'm putting in the work because I'm getting to 1 million before the end of this year. Gee, damn it. Mac22 in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I'm sorry, Hargeet. Xbox, Microsoft could give everyone a hug, a cookie, and a free game, and it wouldn't be enough to change the gaming media's mind. He's 100% right when he says that. Yep. What a shame. What an absolute shame. So Pioneer in the chat, who's a good friend of the show. Thanks so much for being here as always, Pioneer. He drops a $4 super sticker. That is very kind of you, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity. So I want to pose a question to the chat. I want to pose a question to this amazing panel that we have each and every Wednesday. And it's a simplistic question. Who is Project Helix for? Now, before we bring in Hargeet and Kayasanta to get their raw, live, and uncut answers and get some of the chat involved, I want to address some of the PC moguls that we have in the chat. And I know that right now there are a lot of people that are thumbing their nose at the idea that the next Xbox is going to be a hybrid. And I know there are a lot of people with a PCMR mentality that, God forbid, Xbox, who is, by the way, Microsoft, and by nature a PC development company, how dare they want to put their chocolate into my peanut butter? Pause. Right? So my easy answer, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm speaking for myself. So I'm going to put myself in the shoes of someone that currently has a 3 series card on their PC and is currently playing in 1080p, right? Now, you might ask, why didn't I upgrade to a 4 series, 5 series, or sit on the docks waiting for the 6 series to come in, right? That you might be asking that question. Well, I'm sure in 2026, the easy answer is going to be money. And most PC players, especially the low to mid range users, don't really upgrade. Every now and again, they get a couple extra bucks from tax time or a gift from somebody, and or they get a used part. But this is my theory. Do I think that there's going to be some seismic movement of PC gamers joining Xbox land? I don't think that is what it's going to look like. I think what you're going to get is you're going to get gamers of every ilk. And I'm not talking about people like Hargeet who are rocking 5090 supers. No, I'm talking about the average player who is on old ass hardware that if they decide to upgrade their shit, it's going to cost them $1,200 plus dollars, even if they went with a $1,500 pre-built. And what if this Xbox is under $1,000? Is it likely? Well, I don't know. Could it be a $1,000 box? Sure. Could it be between $800 and $1,100? It absolutely could. But the choice then becomes, if this is an open source platform giving you your Steam games and the rest of your PC library at your fingertips, why wouldn't you want this device? It's a plug and play device. So, and what I find hilarious is the same people in this goddamn chat are going to be the same ones that be like, "Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for the midnight launch of the Steam machine." A freaking 30 FPS 1080p box, and you're talking about Magnus. You see, this is what vexes the shit out of me. And I'm sorry. I don't like to curse, but there are a lot of PCMR dudes in this chat, and I don't name names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, that think that they know best. And I'm here to tell you, guess what, Charlie Brown? You are now in territory that has never been done before, and I think it's going to be a lot more people from PC joining the console generation in what is ultimately going to be a hybrid Xbox. But I regress. I want to bring Hargeet Chani in and simply ask the question, who is Project Helix for?
Well, first and foremost, it's for Xbox fans, right? So there's your first answer. Anybody who's a fan of the Xbox console or the Xbox ecosystem, this is a console for you. It's still got, Game Pass and, all their games are going to be on it, obviously. It'll have its ecosystem, no paying for freaking cloud saves and all that crap that you have to do with the other two platforms. So it's for them. Second, you already mentioned the obvious one. If anybody's in any way excited for Steam Machine, then you're a hypocrite saying you're not excited for this. Because why wouldn't you be? Right? It's the same kind of thing. And in this case, you'll actually get to play every game that you won't be able to play on your Steam machine because you can't play the likes of Fortnite or Call of Duty or any of those games that require, anti-cheat, which this will provide for you. You will have that. So you will have access to everything. So whatever, but, and on top of that, they'll let you play those games from Steam. You can actually play your Steam library too. Yeah. So where's the downside? So anyway, so this is basically, it is a console that could be very interesting to people who are on the PC side. But look, Keisante already mentioned, this is a platform that's going to be available to OEMs as well. If you want the console under the TV, that's one method to access it. And that may be very compelling to a lot of people who are on PC. Maybe you have a laptop and then you're like, I want to just have something under my TV. Why don't I just get this? It'll give me access to everything I have anyway, but it's a convenient controller friendly, TV friendly system that works, on the TV. So why don't I just, get this too, right? Not everybody's going to just make this their main, right? It could be a secondary thing. I have a very high-end PC, fair enough. But I'll be honest, if Magnus does like 90% of that, I'm probably just going to use that. Why? Windows is still Windows.
Yep.
And updates suck. And they do. They just do. What I don't like is I turn it on and now I have to go through all these updates. Let me wait 15 minutes before this thing is finally ready to play. Whereas I turn on my Xbox and I just turn on the game and it's in quick resume and I'm just playing.
Yep.
I don't even have to do any loading. It just plays my game. Right? So that is kind of nice. From a gamer perspective, it's kind of nice. And when you have that, you're like, I miss it when I'm on my PC. I just turn it on, 2 seconds, and I'm in my game in like 5 seconds. There it is, right? So look, it's up to them to market that. It's up to them to make that obvious to people. But a lot of PC players, they kind of know that. There's the hardcore people who go crazy about things. And if you're one of them, fine. Don't engage. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It's fine. If you don't like it, that's not for you. Fine. But like you said, Boom, there's like a billion people on PC that play games.
Right.
A billion. They don't need to convert a billion. They need to convert a percentage. A few percent. That's a good amount for them. They still have those Xbox gamers that are going to be like, yeah, this is my next Xbox, right? Cool. I'll just go buy that. How many is that? I don't know, 10, 15 million might just buy it just because they're Xbox fans, right? They'll just buy it. Then it becomes a question of who's the next set of players. How do you get to, say, 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, 70 million? And that's where you start playing these games of like, how do you attract different customers? This is another thing that you're going to start getting with this is it plays PC games, right? People might not recognize the fact that there are a whole bunch of games that just aren't on console, but absolutely are on PC. And now you have access to them in a console-friendly way. So maybe you want to play one of those games that came out in Shrouded.
Tell them people how those who want exclusives, the only place to get exclusives is PC. The mountain of exclusives that are on PC is staggering.
It's ludicrous how many there are. It's not like, a few percent. It's like times and times and times many, like we're talking millions of games that have been like out since the freaking 80s that are on PC. You can play those, right? They're going to be available to you. So would you say, okay, well, that's not a good enough compelling reason to have something under your TV that plays all that stuff? I mean, that's kind of the appeal of the Steam machine. If it's in Steam, you can play it. Well, here, if it's in Windows, you can play it, which is even bigger than Steam. And Steam has a ton of games, right? But Windows has had games for a long time. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff there. And we will see how that plays out. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I don't know, right? We will see how that plays out. There's just enough potential here for people who are in that arena to say it's a convenient enough device. If it's a good enough price, that's also helpful. So we will see what happens there, right? So there's plenty of people who might want to have it as a secondary device, as their primary gaming device, right? Or it's just another PC place. If it really is a PC, this is one of the things I was recommending with the Steam machine. Well, gosh dang, the Steam machine, if it's a good enough price, is actually a pretty good streaming machine where you can actually use it as your content creation box for a podcaster. And if it's not a very expensive one, in other words, it's more expensive for you to buy something with equivalent performance, buy that one and freaking install Windows on it, and you've got a very good machine, right? So I don't know what level of Windows you'll have with the Xbox console. We will see. So I think there's some pretty cool potential there. But look, what is successful to Microsoft may be different than what is successful to somebody else, right? You have to look at their market share and say, is selling 20 million of these good enough? Is 30, 40, 50 enough for them? I don't know, right? Maybe you look at Nintendo and they say the Switch 2, if it doesn't sell 100 million, that's a failure because the Switch 1 sold like 150. Okay, right? Or maybe they say, you know what, if we get over 60 million consoles, we're happy. I don't know what their targets are, right? And the assumption is somehow it has to be the highest selling thing. No, that's not true. It has to be enough for it to be in the market, have enough to make it profitable for them, which, by the way, it already is. They're making profits. So what is it that they want to target? So they will figure that out. But who is it for? It's for anybody who likes to play on the Xbox ecosystem. You've got the box. It's anybody who wants to have an ancillary system that runs PC games as well as Xbox console games, which there are some that still run on PC. That's true as well, right? So you have that. And so you have an all-in-one box that gives you access to pretty much everything. And outside of like, well, I can't really say Nintendo games because there's emulation. And I can't say PlayStation either because there's better emulation and backwards compatibility on this than there will be on freaking PlayStation. But we'll put that aside. But they won't play natively, directly, won't play PS5 games unless there's some emulation going on there. But we'll put that aside. So basically have a box that can kind of do everything. And is that a viable thing for players who want to play? You also have to look at where the market's going. And a lot of the next generation, the consoles don't matter to them. But if you give them a box that's convenient enough and you're like, hey, you can plop this under your TV. It gives you access to all the PC stuff. That's where you really want to play it. No problem. Fine. You can still play it, rock with your PC. But hey, you have another PC that's sitting under your TV, but it kind of works seamlessly with the TV because it's got a controller interface. Here you go. That's another potential option. So we'll see how that works out. Again, it comes down to how you market it, how you get it out there. I think there's going to be plenty of people who want it. I don't expect it to sell like 700 million consoles. That's not happening, right? But if it sells a good amount for them, for Xbox, it's good enough, right? They have to kind of get to their targets. And so the assumption is like, and I don't know why this comes up, is like it has to beat PlayStation. It doesn't have to beat PlayStation. You don't have to beat your competition. You have to be in the market and be profitable. And that's where they need to be. Can they make enough to say we are a market positioned player that has enough value for other publishers to put their games on here, and we have enough content, which of course, as the largest publisher of games, they do have enough content of their own to put on that system to compel people to say, hey, this is a good place for me to go. I can go with Game Pass every month that I want to use it. I don't have to pay for it all the time. Cool, absolutely, do that and like play your games, right? If that's what you want to do, it's a good value judgment for them if they want to go down that path. It really just comes down to how they market it. So I think there's plenty of potential here. It's just up to Microsoft's marketing. It's also up to the consumer to see, is there value for me? And I think there is value for enough different types of players that they might see a good potential here. So we'll see. It's the same thing as Steam Machine, though. I look at it and like, why do I want a Steam Machine? It doesn't even play all the games. I have a 4090 equipped PC, so I already have Steam, and I have Steam Big Picture Mode anytime I want it, right? Here I do get something else. I get my backwards compatibility library on my Xbox. So that's a very compelling thing for me because I have a bunch of games. So there you go.
I mean, great points all around. Let's bring in Kayasan to get your thoughts on this, because I think there are a lot of people that really want this thing for a lot of reasons. Power is going to be, I think, right off the clip. The fact that it is going to be the first next generation console with power that is, listen, it's going to be a premium device. You're going to pay for what you get. They're not taking losses on consoles, and this is going to be the first one that say, if you want it, you buy it. But this is something that I'm going to buy. This is something a lot of people in this chat are going to buy. But my question to you is, who is Project Helix for?
So I will say this, and it may challenge people's thinking, okay? This is not for the writ large general console gamer. It's not. If you continue to subscribe to the idea of the traditional model, right? You buy my box, you play my games, the model that PlayStation has been good at, the model that Nintendo is good at, this may not be for you, because that model has a lot of subsidization going on to make it comfortable for you to be able to buy this thing, right? The company we're talking about right now with Microsoft and Xbox and all of this, they have different priorities. Their priorities is not the same. The priorities are not the same as what the other traditional console makers are. And because of that, their ROI becomes different. What they see as successful becomes different. And I know you'll keep judging them by the same barometer you have judged them cycle after cycle after cycle. But just because by today's barometer it looks like an L, where they're judging it, it does not, right? What do I mean by that? I mean, like, to Hargeet's point, if you want to play that traditional game, right? You're making a sub $1,000 console. I don't believe this is a sub $1,000 console. And if it is, it will have corners cut that I feel may not be the mission where they're trying to head. I believe, and you know, we'll see where we're going here. Right now, they're telling the tale of the highest end. Right now, if you look at PlayStation, for example, right, and you look at the games they market, what is the footage they always show you with? PS5 Pro footage. Does everybody have a PS5 Pro?
No,
Absolutely not. Right?
about 10% of the populace.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. Right now, you know, Windows owns the world. Like, it owns the world. The only OS that, believe it or not, has beaten Windows, believe it or not, Android. Only other one, right? And even when we speak of Android, two great examples. Are we talking about the Galaxy S? Are we talking about the Surface brand of Windows? Or are we talking about the No, Windows. No, Android. The hardware makers that deliver you Android and/or Windows is a backstory that is not told. They just tell you Windows has millions and millions of users, of MAUs per month. They don't say millions of Windows Surface users or Windows Dell users. No, it's millions of Windows users. Okay, so who is this for? That is a half of a story that has not been told yet. As I believe it, they will start speaking to the normal casual audience, but maybe with different hardware profiles. It'll all be Magnus, but specifically Helix may not be for those who don't want to spend $1,200 to $1,500 on a console, because it's not just a console. It's a hybrid solution that they're ultimately bringing to the table, right? But again, I sincerely believe that at some point there'll be and I'll do my best Donnie D voice. If you don't like that $1,500, there's a console for you, but it won't be last gen. It'll be offerings from a different partner who has a more comparable price for the mainstream, right? Yep. Because they know what the console audience wants. That's right. They know what a console means to the standard audience, and that's not a plus $1,000 device. It's not, right? They were stretching that in the world of handhelds where it was 800 and the like, but a close to $800-900 console, that's not what moves the needle, right? And I bet this device will be either that close or over it by a good amount because the hardware demands it. And we are in the RAM-pocalypse, ladies and gentlemen. We're still here. They didn't say they're releasing this thing in 2030. They're releasing this thing, chances are, in 2027. We won't be past RAM-pocalypse, Ben. Hopefully we're past the hurdle, but we'll still be in high price land, right? This thing will not be for everyone who's watching this, because not everybody who's watching this can or wants to afford a $1,500 box before you start buying accessories and stuff, right? But the reason, and that is a challenge, no doubt, but the reason why I say that they are better positioned than anyone else to make this work is their priority is not the same, right? They don't need to sell you Helix branded consoles to be able to go, well, look at our MAUs. No, they can sell it from anyone and everyone at every great price point imaginable in order to get you in. And at the end of the day, it still contributes to their same MAU count, whether the underlying hardware is the one you bought, which is $2,000, or the one from the other dude who sold you one for $700 or $600 because it may not have as much RAM, or it may not have as much storage, or some other corner was cut in order to get you in the door. But where it matters, the games still function just right. So who is it for? It might be for the hardcore, but I'm looking is, when will they start having the, hey, everyone, this is for you conversation? I don't think they have that with Helix. And if they do, I think that might be a mistake, unless they surprise the hell out of me and this thing's like $600. I doubt that. I seriously doubt that. If it's like $600, my mouth will be agape. You'll see me on camera. I'll be like, oh, the whole time. I will happy to be wrong. But from what they're looking at here and from what we've been seeing them purporting to do all this time, back in 2024 when I wrote that article, I saw this exact thing. And I saw it at $15,000 to $2,000, even then before RAM-pocalypse, because they're putting their foot down, and that's what they do in Surface all the time. They put their foot down. They are on the cusp, the pinnacle edge of technology. and you're paying for it if you want one. But don't worry, because Asus will make one that's just as good, looks just as close, and it'll be $500-600 cheaper. And so will HP, and so will all the other, right? And what does that do? That still contributes to the monthly MAUs for Windows. Doesn't matter if it's their hardware or not. That's where they're going.
And that's the trick. Now, folks, we're going to get ready to get out of here, but I just want to add some context to what Kay Asante is saying. See, that is the trick. Xbox is putting the next console, Project Helix, and it's going to be a balls-to-the-wall device. It is going to be everything anybody could ever want for power. And what we're already hearing, again, there's a lot of stuff on 4chan. Don't believe it. Trust me, you'll get all the stats from Jason Ronald when it's time to talk about stats. This thing is going to be a beast. It's probably going to be $1,000 or more. You know what? That's okay. If it's not for you, I hear you. But see, this is the trick. Because they're not going to settle in on, well, just Microsoft sold hardware. This is where the trick comes into play. Because by having OEM devices from Razer and Asus and Dell and Alienware and Lenovo, each one of those manufacturers are going to make hardware potentially even better, more expensive in some cases, but certainly if they want to sell to an audience that they're familiar with, that they understand, that they sell to regularly, it could be cheaper. It might be an $800 box. It might be a $600 model. You know, if you go to make the Alienware right now, you can build your own laptop, which is exactly what I did for Mrs. Boom. Now, I've told you the story. Did she need a 4070? No, but she has one, right? I put that in there. I could have went with a 4060. I put the 4070 in there. I built this thing. I'm not a technician. I don't know how to build PCs, but I built it online and it came and it works and she loves it and it's awesome. Well, that could in fact be the case. And I'm not saying it will be. I'm saying that could be the case for what they're going to do. And I think that is really an absolutely ingenious way of, well, it didn't sell 100 million units like the PlayStation 5. They're not going to have to do that from Microsoft's point of view. And Hargeet, you asked a question. Well, what will be the number? Is it 40 million that works for them? Is it 50 million? Well, if they have other partners selling Xboxes that are just from different manufacturers, it's going to encompass one giant MAU, like Kay said, and that's all that's going to matter. I think they have this shit really figured out. And I got news for you. The more that we hear about this, the more I cannot wait for this year to end so we can start 2027 to know that we're getting a new premium Xbox that's going to be the most powerful machine available for home consoles. Point blank, end of conversation. But let me just make sure I'm caught up on Super Chats and we'll get everyone out of here. We have Pioneer drops an additional very generous $5 Super Chat. He says, Xbox Helix day one, no matter what. I'm excited. That makes two of us, brother. Thanks for the additional generosity. Pragmatic Eagle's been a channel member, ladies and gentlemen, for 77 months. I actually think that's as long as the channel's been in existence. Pragmatic Eagle, thank you so much for the insane generosity. He says, pro tip, do not headcanon the price of this device being under $900. It will be at a minimum of $900. I called the ROG price. I'm calling this one too. Yeah, I expect it to be pricey. I absolutely do. But I think that is where the OEMs are going to come in. And I don't know if they're going to be on par or potentially cheaper, because then you might be asking the question of, well, are they going to undercut Xbox if they come in, $200 cheaper?
And that right there, what you just said there, that is why Surfaces are always $1,200 to $1,300, like $400 or $500 more than their competition, right?
But
they also give you more.
Though.
Yes, people buy them because Surface is beyond reproach. But
yes.
so is Dell if you're not trying to buy a $2,000 machine,
Yeah, I mean, again, it's It's for them to work out. It's for us to play on their hardware and buy it, and I intend to do that in spades. JD Gamer drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says, here's your marketing plan. No other console plays more games if you're a gamer that you play on Xbox, where the gamers game. I mean, listen, I like what you're putting down. I mean, I am going to say that just based on some of the moves that Asha is making in regards to marketing, I think they're tired of hearing us talk about how terrible their messaging is. I think they're well aware that their marketing has been shit for years, and they have to do better. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. It has been freaking terrible, and they have to tighten it. They have to tighten it up, and by bringing in some really big headhunters that are going to hopefully get the ship in order just in time for Magnus, or the Magnus ship and Project Helix, we can only hope. Brett Bingham drops, who's been a channel member for 3 years, 36 months. Brett, thank you so much for the incredible support. He says, ponies, no one wants one because Helix won't have exclusives. Really? We keep our Xbox library. We gain access to thousands of PC games on other stores. Clowns. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. Like, that's what you're going to get. That this is what again, the clown shows, folks. The circus is in town, and the next couple of days are going to be hilarious. Watch out for the clowns, because I don't trust them because they're wearing makeup. JD Gamer drops a very generous additional $5 super chat. He says some OEM is going to be smart and offer an Xbox for $500 with a dock, then market it. MS could have done that, but missed the boat, but another OEM won't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't say this definitively. It does appear that they're going to be coming out with their own handheld at the same time as this box.
You can take this to the bank. Ronald has already said that Magnus chips will be in handhelds, right? They are not gonna build everything. They're gonna leave room for OEMs to speak.
There you go. Well, again, this is a very exciting time, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoyed a lot of the tech talk that we had here, thanks to, of course, Hargi Chani. We also have Keasante dropping some megaton bombs, and I certainly appreciate their knowledge. I hope you do as well. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider subscribing. We are under 300 away from 17K, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully by June, we will have crossed that threshold, and you can help us continue on our journey by subscribing to Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, let's get everyone out of here. And let me start off by saying a big thank you to all of the super chats, gifted subs, and channel member chats that continue to come in and support the channel. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate the generosity. But Hargi Chani, let's sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel, potentially buy your book called Emergence, and more importantly, not find you on social media?
Yeah, my book, you can pick it up at shop.china.us. I also have the fun Xbox Not Dead. So make Xbox Not Dead again, and make Xbox great again. If you want any of those are also available at my store. Yeah, my channel is Hargi Chani 1 on YouTube, and yeah, I'll be on with C Money and Doodle. I think no, it won't be this week because C Money is out there at GDC this week, enjoying getting all the information firsthand. So we won't be on with them, but I'll be on with Web Dave on the Sunday at 7 p.m. US Eastern Time, back with Fonz on Tuesday at 7 p.m. US Eastern Time, and then we'll be back next week. I'm sure we'll have more information by then coming out of GDC, and there'll be more stuff coming on up, so what the heck. It'll be a lot of fun, right?
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, there's been no shortage of news this year, and we're just continuing. And mind you, this is the 25th anniversary of Xbox. There's a rumored direct happening this month. The leak once again for McFarlane toys for Fallout 3 Remastered have surfaced. I do believe my original thought and theory that we could get an actual Bethesda Direct, and that would be one of the games that are there along with Starfield. We will certainly see, and I have a couple of feelers out trying to get some more information on that, but I think that is happening in the middle of the month, but we will certainly see. But Kay Asante, let's sell the brand of your podcast, the Gaming Circle Podcast, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I would imagine that you and Everborn are going to have a lot to talk about this week. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe and, more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yeah, well, thank you all so much. Always love like having this podcast. It reminds me that the week is almost up. I'm happy to always be here on Wednesday. We will be having a lot more talk. There's a lot of information coming out now that GDC has come upon us and a lot has been spilled. We hope to hear from some of the folks that always join us on the podcast, Paris Lily and Light. You know, we'll seek to hear their word on some of these proceedings. But I'll be on there. We'll be in the Discord, like basically like having conversations about the new stuff that's coming out and having those debates. But Saturday, of course, we'll be here on GCP having those conversations, really digging into all the interesting details that we're hearing. So yeah, we'll see. You know, it's fun to have y'all and join us. The numbers have been looking really good. People having a great time on our show. We appreciate it. So join us or join the Discord where we spend a lot of time having some rated R talk. Well, come with your thick skin, because sometimes it goes hard in there. Big pause. But yeah.
Yeah, Discord is a great place to hang out. A lot of awesome gamers. Sometimes it gets a little pointed, but for the most part, it's a lot of fun. And they talk about gaming, and that's really what it's about, folks. So, of course, a big thank you for everyone that tuned in. We had over 400 people watching live, so Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate the continued growth through your views, shares, likes, subs. We appreciate it all. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. He'd say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.